In the past year, we've had a record number of people take our courses in speed reading, memory, and productivity related areas. And when I ask attendees what their motivation was when they signed up, a very common reply is that they simply want to get more reading done. Well, it's once again that time of the year where we determine our New Year resolutions, and one of the most popular resolutions besides eating better and losing weight is to read more. Does that include you? If so, I want to challenge you this year to read much more than ever before. So here are some ideas and challenges to help you make it happen. And this is by no means a one-size-fits-all approach, so feel free to choose your own adventure. You can take part in any one of these challenges. Here they are from most difficult to least difficult. Most difficult, 30 books in 30 days. Now this, I should say, is not for everyone. But last year, when I issued this challenge to students from our speed reading courses, I was surprised at how many took me up on this offer and said, challenge accepted. Now, 30 books in 30 days might not be for someone who is extremely busy. I get that. What if you have a full-time job and kids? Probably not gonna happen. But here's a challenge that might be a little easier for you. A book a week for 52 weeks. This is challenging for most people, but definitely doable. Even if you're a slow reader, you can read a book every week if you set aside the right time for focus. Keep in mind, you can utilize a combination of reading on paper, reading on your phone or tablet, or even listening to audiobooks. Now, you might feel like you're very strapped for time, and a book a week might seem almost impossible. But it's also a matter of us figuring out how we've been spending our time. Think about how many shows have we binge watched in the last year? 3, 5, 10 or more? Even if it was only one show, if that show had 10 episodes, each about an hour, that's 10 hours of time. You can get through a whole book in less than 10 hours. And I know some of you faster readers will be able to get through more than one book in 10 hours. But how much streaming is the average person doing? So last April, there was a study done on this, and they surveyed 2,000 Americans. This study found that the average person was streaming about 8 hours a day of content. 8 hours, that's double the number of hours before the pandemic started. And this is just mind-boggling to me, to spend so much time on streaming. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we should stop streaming entirely. There's some really great shows out there, but those people that went from 4 hours to 8 hours of streaming on a daily basis, I'm sure they think it's hard to fit reading into their schedule, even though it isn't. Can you imagine how many books you can read if you didn't spend those extra 4 hours on streaming? 4 hours each day, reading for a whole week. That's 21 hours. For anyone that's streaming 8 hours a day, if they tell me they don't have time to read, I'm not buying it. So what I'm trying to say here is that you can probably read at least one book a week. If you can do that, that's 52 books in a year. That's much more than the average person. By the way, the average person reads about 12 books a year. I'll post a link below to the research I've mentioned in case you want to read in more detail on these matters. Now, what if you only read a handful of books this year? Maybe 1, 2, or 3? You know this number's pretty low, but you want to get back into the habit of reading. 52 books in a year might seem too difficult, but I'll bet you can do 12 books. Instead of a book every week, how about a book every month? Maybe you decide you want to read 12 books on 12 different areas of interest that you have. It could be one biography, one science topic, one business book, one self-improvement book, one book on history, and so on and so forth. By the way, if you're looking for book recommendations, I have a number of links below to guide you. I think one of them is titled 12 Books for Entrepreneurs. If you're into investing, I have another post related to books that Warren Buffett recommends. There's also a post we put together that shows you some great books that are under 200 pages and quick reads. We also have a post on audiobooks that are better than the print version. You can check out all those book recommendations in the description below. Now, finally, here is the easiest challenge, but one that I think is kind of cool. Not a book a day, not a book a week, not a book every month, but just one chapter every day for 365 days, the entire year. Now you want to make it count, so I think you should consider reading a book that is a classic and a book that's one of the longest books ever written. That is War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. It just so happens that this book has around 365 chapters. Well, actually it's 361, but it gives you a 4-day buffer in case you miss a day. But you can easily get through this book if you just think of it as a chapter a day. War and Peace is a massive novel that most people wouldn't even consider starting. It's got around 1,500 pages, depending on the format, and it weighs over 3 pounds, unless you have the digital version, I guess. But you can get through this easily by just doing a chapter a day. And at the end of the year, you'll have reached the milestone of reading one of the greatest works of literature and also one of the longest books ever written. If you need some support while reading this book, there is a great community on Reddit dedicated to reading and discussing this legendary book, one chapter a day for a full year. The subreddit is called A Year of War and Peace, and this community will help you understand it very well, and it will motivate you to get it done. I'll post a link to the subreddit in the description below. So to recap, there are 4 different challenges to choose from, depending on your situation. A book a day for 30 days, a book a week for 52 weeks, a book a month for 12 months, or just a chapter a day for a full whole year. If you feel like some of these challenges are too difficult, it might be because you're reading slowly. Now, sure, there are some types of reading where reading slowly makes a lot of sense, like poetry, or certain types of reflective material, or when you're editing a document, it makes sense to go at that slower pace. But there are a lot of materials where you can speed up, especially when it comes to nonfiction. So if you need some help reading faster, check out the speed reading courses on our website. They'll not only help you read faster, but they'll also help you boost your comprehension. And here's a little bonus for those of you that kept your attention all the way to the end of this video. If you enter the code CHALLENGE into our website, you'll get an extra 30% off any course that you see posted there. By the way, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you just subscribe to this channel. We'll be posting videos weekly for the rest of the year. I'm Paul Novak, and I want to thank you for watching. This year, I hope you read more than ever before. Happy New Year.